forget. We'll stay up all night, awake till morning light. We'll stay up all night again. Life is all a dream.
Good morning. I will now call the October 12th, 2022 San Diego County Board of Supervisors regular meeting to order. May I ask the clerk to call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Before I call the roll, I'd like to note for the record that Supervisor Lawson Reamer is participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. With that, I will now call the roll. Supervisor Anderson. Here. Supervisor Lawson Reamer. Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas here.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher here. First on the agenda is non-agendized public communication, an opportunity for the public to address the board on matters that are within our jurisdiction but are not on today's agenda. The only action the board may take is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. Reminder, according to Rule 4A, members of the public who are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will be allotted additional time to facilitate translation. According to our rules of procedure, we will hear from up to 5 in-person and 5 virtual speakers. Any remaining non-agendized public speakers will be heard at the conclusion of our agenda. I'll ask the clerk at this time to call forward up to 5 in-person and 5 virtual speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 16 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 3 in person and 13 by phone. For those that have requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using those instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You will then have 2 minutes to address the board. And I would like to invite forward the following individuals: Summer Light, Audra, and Bryant. And if you could please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
My name is Summer Light. I'm here on behalf of the San Elijo Hills community, the 10,000 residents. We'd like to address Jim Desmond on this issue of the illegal asphalt dumping on buffer land. The San Elijo Hills community has in their amendment plan that this is to be left as a natural wildlife preserve untouched. What happened, Mr. Desmond, is you had a briefing with DPW in January, but you did not hear from the community. We were not included. The solution to landscape was not going to work. We asked them not to do it. We asked the board not to wait taxpayer money. It was done anyway. The eyesore still remains. The issues to the community have not been resolved. We have addressed this breakdown in communication, and it also created further weed abatement problems for the homeowners. We have addressed this breakdown in communication with DPW. We're not getting anywhere. We even have evidence of false information being reported by DPW to the authorities. What we want, Supervisor Desmond, is for you to allow the community to have the same amount of time that you allowed DPW. We want you to hear from us. We want you to share how this is impacting us. We want you to hear our solutions. We want you to hear the whole picture. And we feel totally confident if you take this time, you give us the same time you gave DPW, this issue will get resolved. Please help us. Thank you.
Username Audra. No offense to you, but they don't. This is their game. They don't help. People come in here and tell them what they need and want, and you guys just ignore them. So I actually hope you have somebody go talk to her, Jim. Because, I mean, you guys ignore the people, and that's exactly why I'm going to speak to the people, because we need to take our votes back. This is how we get these people out of here. And you just got your ballots mailed to you because there's fraudulent crap going on there because we're constantly going to be in an emergency. It's so great. But don't open your ballot. Vote on voting day, which is November 8th at the Registrar of Voters. Take it out once you have verified that you have not voted, and you can place it in the ballot box. Do not use a machine. The machines are fraudulent. The Registrar of Voters, the district attorney, the sheriff, the board, they know that this is going on and they're not doing anything about it, so we have to do something about it. But you can also expose fraud in the process. If you see a ballot that's been sent to your house and it doesn't belong to anybody, keep that and write an affidavit so we can file a report with the sheriff's department and expose the fraud. But it's up to us to do it because we've allowed the government to step into the place where we're supposed to be, and they think that they're above us and not working for the people. And that's a problem. If you have any questions, you can email me at AUDRA, that's Audra.iofthestorm at proton.me. Please take your vote back. Don't mail it in. It's important for us to get this over center so that in 2024 we can have hand-counted ballots that are handwritten, and we have voter ID, and the machines are in the abyss.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good to see you again. I was here yesterday. I've been showing up to as many of these as possible. You know, Jim, today I am wearing my team blue shirt.
Sir, could you please state your name for the audio record?
Bryant Rumbaugh. I apologize for that. Still my rookie year. You know, a lot of these people barking dogs have been trying to do this for a while, but for me, it's kind of fresh. Anyhow, you know, initially I talked to you guys about engineering more or less an engaged society, very similar to the mantra on the building. And it's really, I'm kind of losing faith that you guys are going to go ahead and do that, let's just say, because, you know, even the people that come in here, you know, people shaking their heads at one another and all that type stuff. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and really try to solve this for my country. I am a stakeholder in my country. My grandparents, they fought for it. I'm sure yours did too. With regarding yesterday, more or less the till Valhalla means, you know, I'm going to fight for you until the next realm, whatever, okay, in military speak, and I'm not a military man. I know it's campaign season. You kind of did show me your true colors a little bit, where your primary objective maybe is the campaign, and this is your job. You know, you've asked people to, you know, really direct their anger at you. I witnessed that myself. And I want to ask you, what is going to happen when the campaigns are essentially not as expensive as they conventionally are? Okay, when I say that, what would happen if the American citizenry provided the platform where campaigns are ran from? Am I stupefying you right now? I'm just curious. You got a perplexed look on your face once again. We live in the information age. America needs to choose a direction. America really needs to kind of set an example of leadership for the world. And one way, you know, that one woman who is never here, she talked about innovative thinking. It's about time for it.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. We'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We will begin with our first caller, and again, if you could please state your name before beginning your comments.
Consuelo. So today I'm going to freestyle a little bit here. I just wanted to address yesterday's meeting. Nathan Fletcher, you had no right to interrupt any of the speakers. I mean, whether they're off topic or not, you have no clue what what the end of their speech is going to be about, and that's not your job to tell people what they can say or what they can't say. Okay. The other week, Nora was actually off topic. We were talking about monkeypox, and she was talking about COVID, or vice versa. I don't remember. That's probably why this week you guys had both of them on one agenda item. Let's see, what else did I have on here? Let's see. To the ones thinking Amy Reichart will be taking Nathan's place, yeah, dream on. Two wings, same bird, get a clue, wake up. What else did I have to say? Let's see. Damn it. I had a lot of things I wanted to say in the kitchen, but I didn't put them in my phone. Anyways, yeah. So, Nathan, again, you have no right to interrupt people. And I'll be calling back.
Thank you.
Go get him, Audra. Go get him, Bryant.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Hi, good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is KB Strange, pharmacist, District 5. I participated recently in education projects during September for Suicide Prevention Month. And I'd like to alert the public about risks of using cannabis on mental health. I've learned that there are 3 points about cannabis that are important for the public to know. First, cannabis is a suicidal risk factor in people under 25. In San Diego County, it is the #1 drug found in completed suicide in our county, and for that age group, it is more than even than alcohol. Point number 2, people who have mental illnesses can exacerbate their condition by using THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. Point number 3, high THC marijuana products like vapes and edibles are a risk factor for developing psychoses, and it can become permanent even in young people who have no underlying mental health conditions. These 3 risks become 5 times higher in people who use high-potency THC on a daily basis. Because the brain is growing until age 25 or later, it's susceptible to considerable injury from marijuana use during this growing period. Medical professionals want to intervene in this mental health crisis, and we hope that the Board of Supervisors does also. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Paul Henkin, it looks like one of your crises is disappearing or being swept under the rug. I must congratulate you on abating monkeypox with an old-style vaccine and old-style medicines. This is really following the science and stands in contrast to COVID, where we have a new style mRNA vax with serious side effects that were known and documented in the National Health Institute since at least 2012, but there's no antidote to the vax yet developed. You actually don't need a state of emergency for a disease which affects hardly anyone in the county. You should end the state of emergency before it becomes the fiasco that the COVID emergency is. The count of proven or probable cases is 401. I wonder how many are really monkeypox. 395, the website says 100% are in males. How is 395 100% of 401? Does HHSA need a mathematician on the staff? And of those 401 cases, by the way, 282 are LGBTQ, 22 are straight, and the other 97 declined to state or are unknown, which to me indicates a large amount, huge amount of distrust of government. Probably distrust of you guys who seem to do one thing one day and another thing another day. Anyway, thanks for your attention.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Terry Ann Skelly. I want to thank you for item 11 on yesterday's agenda regarding extending and enhancing fentanyl education through partnerships with schools. Recently, the county's Marijuana Prevention Initiative held a press conference where a parent of 3 sons spoke. These are some of their words. My wife and I are parents of 3 young men, ages 15, 23, and 25. Seeing them happy and thriving is all that matters to us. Marijuana, pot, weed, vape, whatever you want to call it, for many youth is not a harmless drug, rather. For adolescents who try today's weed, like my son did, it is often the start of a descent into a living hell and shreds joy, friendships, academic, and career potentials into pieces and breaks a family's heart forever. I continue to quote him. Today's weed is not a simple drug. It is a hard drug. A few months after going from occasional to regular vaping, our son lost all emotions, had no real relationships, just vaping at any cost, nothing else, and things got worse. He abandoned college after one semester, moved back home, smoked nonstop, alienated himself from his friends, spent all his money and much of ours, and became truly psychotic. And the descent got worse. His intervention, treatment, and day-by-day journey back is slow and fragile, and he thinks death could be a way out. Fentanyl is not the only scary, destructive drug plaguing our young adults. It is Red Ribbon Week month. Please put our youth first.
Thank you. Your time is up, and we will hear from our final caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Michael Hill, and I'm concerned about the mental health services in our county. And I applaud you for the actions you took yesterday to increase support of such services. Never was it more important for children and young adults. A fundraiser for Rady's Children's Hospital was held recently to expand their facility where their treatment beds have been perennially full. Recently indicated, and I quote, "In the past 5 years, the number of psychiatric visits to Rady has gone from 250 per year to 250 per month. Between July 2021 and June this year, Rady's Children saw 4,479 pediatric patients experiencing behavioral health crisis. Of them, 32% were triaged to the psychiatric emergency department. Numbers are truly alarming," end quote. A family marriage and family therapist reported, and I quote, "While it's incredibly important to reach young people through schools and pediatricians, offices before things become a bigger fire, the reality is that the kids are showing up in their teens in huge numbers for the first time with an emergency at Rady's Children," end quote. It is important to protect our kids so that we can ensure their future success by responding in a very comprehensive way. Our county needs to examine any decision that normalizes or commercializes drug use, such as the expansion of marijuana storefronts in the unincorporated areas of the county. The county's investment must first be in our most vulnerable children because this impacts society on many levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for the remaining callers that requested to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda, if you could please hang up and call back at the conclusion of the session. And Chair Fletcher, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the statement of proceedings minutes for the regular meeting of September 28, 2022 and the Flood Control District meeting of June 28, 2022. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Motion by myself, second by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote.
Vote. Chair Fletcher will be roll call.
Please call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson? Aye. Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas? Chair Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present voting aye.
We'll now proceed with the formation of our consent calendar. Members of the public will have the opportunity to comment on consent once supervisors have had the chance to move any items to discussion or make any comments they wish. I'll begin with Supervisor Anderson.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Supervisor Desmond?
Nothing to pull, no comments. Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion by Supervisor Desmond. Vice Chair Vargas?
Nothing to pull and happy to second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, second by Vice Chair Vargas. I'll ask the clerk to call forward any speakers on the two items on consent, item 1 and item 2.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 3 total requests to speak on items on the consent calendar, 1 individual in person, and 2 requesting to speak by phone. For any members of the public that requested to speak on items on the consent calendar, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will begin with the in-person speaker, and I'd like to invite forward Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please begin by stating your name for the record.
use the name Audra. So when you vacate a portion of this road in Alpine, it has to be a public benefit through the vacation. And with all of your regulations and stuff, I feel like you're putting people in a box to have to comply with all of your new ideas of building dense housing in places. But I also still don't understand why it costs $4,500 to process that. That's just kind of ridiculous. But then you want to increase the amount of security and extension of time for improvements for new roads, sewer, and water facilities. You can continue to extend this 2 years at a time as much as you want. But is this needing an extension because of your new requirements for the storm and drain, all that kind of stuff? Like, you put up these barriers that people can't complete projects, so then it has to get it extended out. I mean, you haven't even been able to build the homes. Nothing has been constructed. So is this just continuing to be pushed out because you're like, now you have this new regulation, you have to comply with it, and if you don't, the project's not going to get completed? I mean, I thought we were trying to help people get projects done, and I feel like a lot of the times you guys are just putting up all of these roadblocks and red tape that they have to go through in order to complete a project. And then, nothing gets built. I mean, and how does that help anybody? Does it? I mean, if, no? Who knows? What do you think, Nathan? No talking today? You're not my friend anymore? Anyway, so if people get a ballot and they've been told they already voted, they need to file a report that says that they've had their identity stolen.
Your comments are off topic. Next speaker.
All right, thank you again, Brent Rumbaugh. One thing about, kind of abandoning that road that I just wanted to, more or less touch on is you're going to find, there's going to be plenty of these campaign signs on that road. And the current system that we have.
This has nothing to do with campaign signs. You got to speak to the agenda items. Non-agenda public communications over.
When those campaign signs are on that road.
There's nothing on 1 or 2 that's about campaign signs. So we're going to pause your time. We're going to pause your time. You've got to speak to the items. You have 2 items that are on the calendar, and neither one of them is about campaign signs.
When you abandon a road, there's no longer a place to put those campaign signs, correct?
I don't even know what you're talking about. Just do your time. Man, do whatever. Just finish it up.
There's campaign signs on that road, right? That's been confirmed. So when we close a road, there's no longer a place for those campaign signs. Think about it. Appreciate it. We got to fix a lot of things, guys.
Thank you, and now we will hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will begin with our first caller.
I should think about it.
Okay, so what can I talk about, Nathan? What am I allowed to say?
You can speak to items 1 or 2 on consent.
Okay, I'm going to follow in Bryant's footsteps and just say whatever the fuck I want to say. So I want to address the fact that, you guys have issues with us addressing your staff.
Your comments are off topic. First warning.
They're free play. They're your tools. They do your dirty work.
Your comments are off topic. Second warning.
We have every right to address them. That's all I want.
Comments continue to be off topic. Your time is forfeited. We have a motion by Vice Chair Vart. One more. We have one more speaker.
Yes, one more speaker. We will go to our next speaker.
Truth. I also love. Okay, truth. I also love campaign signs. Item 1, it's clear that the vacation of this original alignment of Papatol Road and Alpine is for the purpose of building an accessory dwelling unit next to the existing single-family home. Somebody's looking to make money off a quick so-called affordable stack and pack unit in their backyard. And of course, this type of building won't be subject to vehicle miles traveled fees. And Helen has decided to find it exempt from CEQA guidelines. Infill housing so ugly, it deserves to be called landfill housing. And the county gets a piece of that rotted cow pie with $4,500 in applicant fees. Item 2 says, quote, as conditions of their permit, private development applicants are often required to construct specific improvements that benefit the public. In many cases, these improvements are accepted into the county-maintained system to be owned by the Department of Public Works, end quote. It makes me wonder, why would any developer contract with the county if the county is going to force them to do work that doesn't even benefit them? They don't get to own it, and they have to do it at their own expense. A very communitarianistic sacrifice, right, Sarah? I do like that the Quantum Estates in the San Dieguito Community Plan area includes 7 single-family homes. Hooray for single-family homes. Say no to Sandag's regional plan goal of 93% of homes being multi-family stack and pack. Although I have a feeling that maybe the reason there's been no constructions for these homes since 2013 is maybe you supervisors are intentionally throwing financial obstacles such as BMT fees, which can run into the millions of dollars, in the developer's way. I hope not. Down with permits and up with campaign signs.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent calendar.
We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present voting aye.
We'll go to agenda item number 3, Traffic Advisory Committee, second reading of an ordinance. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Vice Chair Vargas. Please call forward the public speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 4 total requests to speak on this item, 1 individual in person and 3 people requesting to speak by phone. I'd also like to note for the record, we did not receive any e-comments on this item. Any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will begin with our in-person speaker. I'd like to invite forward Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please state please state your name before you begin your comments.
Even though you already said it, I use the name Audra. The Traffic Advisory Committee, I mean, there are 5 members appointed by you guys. It's great. And it's to enhance safety, reduce congestion, be legally enforceable for compliance. I love that you guys are de-incentivizing people from driving, because it's like, I mean, are you going to go to like 25 miles an hour at one point everywhere and then just put 4-way stops and then 1-way roads, right? And so it's like, why drive anywhere? You might as well walk and bike. It's going to be fun. I'm sure none of you do that. But you are also, you have a Tell Us Now app for traffic concerns or compliance. Let's tell on each other, right? Oh my gosh, this person was speeding. You better give them a ticket. It's not how it works. But just reducing the speed limit by 5 miles an hour, I mean, how much? I mean, it's already like 35 or 40. I mean, it's not that bad. You're not going to save that many lives. It's not like you're going from like 70 or 80 to 65 or something like that. And I feel like that actually doesn't reduce congestion. And I just don't know, I mean, this is a way for you guys to get tickets for radar enforcement. It's like you're just going to, ticket people and then they got to pay money because you reduce the speed by 5 miles an hour. So I don't know, it's just pretty ridiculous, but all of this stuff in the TAC is insane because they're going to be able to, I mean, your car could slow down at some point if it's got this like sensor on it. I mean, the things you guys want to do to us is terrifying, and I'm just surprised that more people don't see it because, yeah, what you guys are doing is pushing us into the Great Reset and the New World Order crap. Is that funny, Jim? That's the truth.
Thank you. And we will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. After the beep, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will begin with our first caller.
Norma Cáceres. Thank you for this opportunity to comment on today's agenda item. Number 3, regarding Pepper Tree Road and Vista Drive roads. Again, my name is Norma Cáceres, and I reside in the county area, generally referred to as Pepper Tree and Chula Vista. I am representing a neighborhood group that we call Safety First, which was formed 4 years ago over our concerns of the unsafe road conditions of the mentioned county roads. Of particular concern was the additional traffic that will be generated on these residential country roads due to the fact that a 170-unit apartment project is currently being developed, which will add to the traffic of the 300-plus units that already exist across the street. They're both in the city of Chula Vista, but they border the county road, Vista Drive. In January of 2021, our group, Safety First, conducted a survey of 220 area residents regarding their thoughts on how to mitigate the road issue. The survey included considering 4 options of possible changes to the current roads in order to improve safe traffic conditions. So we shared the results with a preference to complete closure of the road with the County Department of Public Works and also with the City of Chula Vista. So after years of meeting with the City of Chula Vista, the County Department of Public Works, the CHP, and more recently with Supervisor Nora Vargas' office, we feel that county traffic engineers and TAC recommendations for the installation of always stop controls in the 2 mentioned locations is reasonable for the time being. This effort will hopefully slow down traffic because the radar certification of 25 miles per hour that was approved by TAC, unfortunately, is not adhered to.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to the next caller.
Truth. The Traffic Advisory Committee's recommendations about lowering speed limits in Forest Ranch and Fairbanks Ranch and Escondido, as well as the ineffective and sometimes dangerous always stop signs in Bonita and Vista, are only to fulfill the federal government's Department of Transportation's Complete Streets plans to make driving increasingly frustrating by implementing changes such as lowering speed limits, adding more bike lanes, narrowing car lanes, extending curbs, adding extra crosswalks, adding confusing signage such as always stop signs, and installing roundabouts everywhere. The county's new local roadway safety plan that nobody consented to and was only written by the technocratic types on the Traffic Advisory Committee, like Joel's appointee, Justin. It isn't really about safety, but it's about getting connected electric cars to accept communications like radios to each other, to intersections, to lights, to unnamed partnership organizations, and even to police if they don't like the way you're driving your car. The county's new local roadway safety plan literally says, quote, develop an intelligent transportation system integrated into the roadway network to communicate to drivers or automated connected vehicles, and implementing a complete streets checklist, end quote. That means turning the roads anti-car and pro-walking. And the plan also says that road safety is a public health issue. That'll be fun in the future. I guess the local roadway safety plan can operate with the city of San Diego's privacy-invading smart streetlights, which have been recording and tracking the movement patterns of people walking and driving. Technocratic tyranny.
Thank you. We'll go to the next caller.
Consuelo, on point, Truth. Ditto to everything Truth just said. And if the people who are calling in who don't usually call in, or people in chambers who aren't usually there, pay attention. See what they're doing. Why are they doing this? It's a bigger plan, okay? These people are just puppets. They're not here to answer or to help you answer any questions. They're not here to help you with any of your problems. They're just here to make sure that the agenda stays on schedule and their plans are to fulfill.
Public speaker, you need to speak to
Somebody
item
else.
3. You're off topic.
I am. I'm not off topic. Shut up.
Speak to item 3.
That's all I had to say anyway.
All right, time's up.
I'm done.
Chair Fletcher, that will conclude public comment for this item.
We have got a motion by myself, second by Vice Chair Vargas. Before we do that, let's go to Vice Chair Vargas for some comments.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to quickly just say thank you to the Public Works team. I also want to thank Norma and Cáceres who called in and the Safety First Committee. I know this is something that we've been working on for a while now, and I really appreciate the collaborative efforts. I want to, again, emphasize the work that the Public Works team has done in making sure that we go out there and and more than anything, making sure that the intersection of Pepper Tree Road, Bonita Glen Drive, and Vista Drive are safer for the community. So appreciate it. I know there's still a lot of work to be done, and I know that it's a good example of our team working together with the community. So with that, I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. Motion by myself, second by Vice Chair. Please call the roll.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas. Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present, voting aye.
We'll go to agenda item 4, Flood Control District number 1, related to Estrella Park. This is a really positive step forward. I'm really excited to see this. Our county team will be making improvements at the Estrella County Park. This will help with trash, improve stormwater quality, provide shade and recreational opportunities. This project really efficiently combines water quality treatment benefits and park improvements. We'll have new walking trails, benches, picnic area, drought-tolerant landscaping, a new parking lot, bicycle parking rack, EV charging station, a staircase providing access to existing trails and amenities, 400 linear feet of sidewalks to improve pedestrian access to recently developed portions of the park, 24 trees with a goal of almost 100, automatic irrigation controllers to optimize water use, halt irrigation during a rain event. This is a really incredible project that I'm very pleased to support and happy to make a motion to approve. We have a second by Vice Chair Vargas. Let's go to Vice Chair Vargas.
Just to add to your comments, I really just appreciate the impact reductions. And I wanted to add that I think this is a good model because it provides an investment that's going to support our local communities and includes local jobs and local workforce. And I appreciate that the proponents advanced the community benefit agreement in this process, and I think this is the kind of work that we should be doing. So with that, I'm happy to second and support.
Thank you. Let's hear from our public speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher, and I'd just like to note for the record that this item is being heard concurrently with item number 1 on the Flood Control District agenda. And with that, we have 3 total requests to speak, 1 individual in person and 2 requesting to speak by phone. I would like to also note for the record, we did not receive any e-comments on this item. For any members of the public that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will begin with the in-person speakers, and I'd like to invite forward Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
Username Audra. So I don't know how you guys can do environmental reviews on things when you're putting like lithium batteries, things that are toxic to the earth, and you're like, it doesn't make any sense to me how you can, and that's why we should be able to address people that do an environmental review, because they're giving you information that is false, because that can't be environmentally friendly if it's toxic to the environment. So I don't know how you guys reconcile with that, but you don't want to hear any other information. You would just rather get information that feeds into going like, this is the new way. There is climate change. We have to do this. We got to get rid of emissions. We got to get rid of carbon, even though we're carbon-based. I mean, you know, I don't know, this serves as a pilot project to combine water quality, treatment benefits, and park improvements. So, you know, you want to improve stormwater and like collect trash, that's great and all, But I just don't understand why you would need to put electric vehicle charging stations in these parks. I mean, these lithium batteries can combust. And if they light on fire, they're really impossible to put out. You'd have to use sand or something like that because it takes like thousands of gallons just for a lithium battery in a car. So I think you guys need to really think about when you're doing this kind of stuff, when you're saying that you want to like do things that are good for the environment. I mean, and then you want to divert flow of water. I don't understand that either. Why would you need to divert the flow of water? And you don't even know if you can maintain the vegetation because you need a consistent water supply. And so I'm like, are we in a drought or what?
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I would like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. And we will begin with the first caller.
Truth. This item says the Estrella County Park Water Project will combine water treatment and park improvements, but that's questionable. From the April 27th meeting, we heard of a federal money funnel grab by literally leaving a piece of vegetated land just as it is and let it catch the stormwater pollutants for $2 billion. It's also unnerving that parks are becoming water treatment plants. Do parents know that? They might also want to know why there's a trash capture device at the park. And it's funny that this project that started in 2013 is just now considering adding 2 biofiltration basins to capture and treat stormwater. So this place has been unfiltered for a while. But it says this project will include 24 trees and an irrigation system. How is that possible when there's supposedly an internal drought?
Almost everything I've looked at, you know, we talk about planting trees and that's all terrific. And then here we are in the midst of a huge drought. And when I was a younger man, I was told that every foot of tree is a gallon of water per day.
This whole Estrella County Park Water Project will cost over $5 million. For the record, I've got nothing against the normal park functions and accessibility, such as trails and lighting. But as far as the stormwater treatment fraud, I don't consent to spending our money on that. One other thing to point out is the sustainability statement says Casa de Oro and Spring Valley are especially affected by, quote, high volumes of trash, which can limit recreational opportunities by creating odors and visual blight, end quote. Have you guys done anything about the homeless encampment blight in Spring Valley? I don't think so.
And Chair Fletcher, not seeing any other callers in the queue, that will conclude public comment on this item.
Motion by myself, second by Vice Chair Vargas. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas. Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present voting aye.
Here we go to our final agenda item of this morning, notice public hearing, rugged solar major use permit modification and time extension. I will turn it to staff for a presentation.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher and supervisors. I'm Regina Ochoa with Planning and Development Services. Today, Ashley Smith and I will be presenting on item number 5, which is the rugged solar major use permit modification and time extension. PDS is before you today recommending approval of the project. The rugged solar project was originally approved by the Board of Supervisors alongside a different solar project called the Tierra del Sol project on October 14th, 2015. Both projects were analyzed in the Soitec Solar Development Program Environmental Impact Report, abbreviated as Soitec Program EIR. An additional 2 solar projects, Land East and Land West, were also analyzed in the Soitec Program EIR. However, those 2 projects were ultimately rejected by the board. Soitec Solar did not proceed with their approved project, and the rugged solar project was acquired by a new owner. In 2017, the new applicant submitted a request for a time extension and modification to the approved rugged solar major use permit. Since that time, updated environmental studies have been prepared for the proposed project. Staff has circulated the project for review by community and interested stakeholders, and the applicant has negotiated a project labor agreement. The Tierra del Sol project was acquired by a different owner. The time extension for that project is still being processed and is not under consideration at this time. The Rugged Solar project site is located north of Interstate 8, east of Ribbonwood Road, and is bisected by McCain Valley Road within the Boulevard Community Plan area. The applicant proposes to use the same development footprint, reduced by about 21%, from 498 acres to 391 acres. The proposed project would use photovoltaic or PV solar technology rather than the concentrator photovoltaic or CPV technology of the approved project. The PV technology will produce up to 74 megawatts of solar energy, whereas the approved CPV project would produce up to 80 megawatts. The proposed project would reduce the size of the solar trackers. The approved dual-access CPV trackers were 30 feet in height, whereas the proposed single-axis PV trackers are 12 feet. The proposed project, like the approved project, would generate energy from the sun, deliver the energy through an underground collection system within the project site, and then deliver the power through a 40-foot-high steel tower to the existing transmission lines along McCain Valley Road, which would transmit the power to the SDG&E Boulevard substation. The California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, establishes criteria for determining what additional environmental review is required when a project is relying upon a previously certified environmental impact report. The modified Rugged Solar project is relying upon an addendum to the Soitec Environmental Program EIR, which analyzed the environmental impacts of the approved Rugged Solar project and which was certified by the board in 2015. An addendum is used when changes are being proposed to a project, but it can be demonstrated that there are no new environmental impacts beyond what was studied in the original project. The proposed Rugged Solar project would reduce the environmental impacts associated with the approved Rugged Solar project because of the reduced project size. An addendum to the Soitec program EIR went out for a 32-day public disclosure period from April 21st, 2022 through May 23rd, 2022. 4 comment letters were received during the disclosure period. Staff evaluated all comments and did not find any new information that was not adequately addressed in the addendum prepared for the proposed project. The next several slides will summarize the project's consistency with CEQA and the certified Soitec program EIR. The approved project would result in potentially significant impacts to biological resources, including impacts to native habitat and sensitive plant and wildlife species. In order to mitigate for those impacts, the Soitec program EIR included mitigation measures for preservation of on-site and off-site habitat and biological monitoring during ground disturbing activities. The proposed project would reduce the total project footprint by over 100 acres. Despite the reduction in the project footprint, the proposed project would have similar potentially significant impacts that would need to be reduced through implementation of mitigation so that impacts would be less than significant. The proposed project would meet its mitigation obligation through preservation of on-site and off-site native habitat. The Soitec program EIR determined that there would be significant impacts to air quality due to the potential of multiple renewable energy projects being constructed simultaneously, which would result in short-term construction emissions that exceed screening thresholds. However, construction and operation for only the Rugged Solar project would have emission levels that do not exceed screening thresholds. Screening level thresholds are established for certain air pollutants to protect the public health and welfare of sensitive populations and are used to determine if a project's total emissions would result in significant air quality impacts. Compared to the approved Rugged Solar project, construction emissions for the proposed project would be reduced and all emission levels would still fall below screening level thresholds. Therefore, the proposed project would reduce impacts to air quality and not cause any new environmental impacts.
The approved project would not expose people or structures to significant wildfire risk. The approved project would provide adequate emergency access with the incorporation of a Fire and Emergency Protection Services agreement in order for the applicant to contribute fair share funding to the San Diego County Fire Protection District. The proposed project would reduce potential wildfire risk because the overall development footprint of the proposed project would be reduced, resulting in fewer potential ignition sources. Additionally, the proposed project would require significantly less on-site maintenance activities and reduction of the on-site daily employees from 20 to 0. Therefore, a reduction in demand for emergency services from the proposed project is anticipated. The proposed project, like the approved project, requires the applicant to enter into a fire and emergency protection services agreement. However, the applicant's contribution is proposed to be reduced for the proposed project due to the reduction in demand for emergency services, as well as the improvement to Tule Mountain Road and construction of the new Boulevard Fire Station. The startup funding is proposed to be reduced from $360,000 to $250,000, and annual funding is proposed to be reduced from $73,000 to $24,667. The Soitec EIR determined that the approved project would not significantly impact groundwater resources. The approved project would use approximately 59 acre-feet of water during construction and 8.7 acre-feet annually for operational use, whereas the proposed project would use 36.5 acre-feet during construction and 1.41 acre-feet annually for operational water use. The proposed project would demand less water for both the construction and operation phases, due in part to its smaller development footprint and less frequent panel washing. Construction water for the proposed project would be supplied from off-site groundwater sources from a water agency, and operational water would be supplied from existing on-site wells. The groundwater investigation report prepared for the project determined that the production capacity of the wells is sufficient to meet the proposed project's long-term operation and maintenance requirements. The proposed project is located within the Boulevard Planning Group area. The group considered the proposed project at their May 5th, 2022 meeting. An official recommendation from the group was not provided because there was not support by a majority of the group. A motion was made to deny the proposed project. However, that motion failed for lack of a second. A motion was then made to remain neutral, which was seconded. The group then voted on the motion to remain neutral, which received a vote of 3 yeses, 1 no, and 3 vacant or absent. However, the motion to remain neutral failed since it did not receive support by a majority of the community planning group's authorized membership, which is 7 members. Therefore, 4 members would have needed to support the motion to remain neutral. No further motions were made. The Boulevard Planning Group Chair submitted a comment letter on May 23, 2022, requesting changes to the site fencing, undergrounding of utilities within the project footprint, increased setbacks, and increased community benefits. The letter was later endorsed by the Community Planning Group on July 7, 2022, by a vote of 4 yeses, 0 noes, and 3 vacant or absent. The county does not currently have a program to require specific projects to provide community benefits. The board provided direction on September 28, 2022, to develop a community benefits program and return to the board with criteria for that program. However, the applicant is voluntarily proposing community benefits and has presented their proposal to the Boulevard Community Planning Group. The applicant proposes to contribute $887,000 to set up a community benefit fund that would be utilized to fund initiatives that benefit the community. Specifically, an example of what the funds could be used for include an interior remodel of the Boulevard Community Center. At the group's September 1st, 2022 meeting, the group voted to support the applicant's community benefit proposal by a vote of 5 yeses, 0 noes, and 2 vacant or absent. On July 22nd, 2022, the Planning Commission considered the proposed project and made the following recommendations. Adopt the environmental findings, determining that an addendum to the previously certified Soitec program EIR is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. Approve the proposed project with 3 modifications requested by the Boulevard Community Planning Group, including changing the site fencing to remove the razor wire on top of the fence, undergrounding utility lines on site within the footprint of the solar facility, and providing an annual endowment of $25,000 to the community. PDS agrees with the Planning Commission recommendation to remove the razor wire on top of the fence. However, regarding the Planning Commission's recommendation to require undergrounding of utility lines, this would require an additional 11,800 linear feet of trenching or approximately 6 acres of additional ground disturbance that was not evaluated as part of the environmental impact report. Additional environmental analysis, including tribal consultation, would be required to evaluate additional impacts from undergrounding utilities. However, following the Planning Commission hearing, the applicant proposed to reduce the utility pole height to the minimum needed for safe construction and operation of the solar facility, which is 40 feet. The applicant proposed this reduction in utility pole height to help reduce visual impacts of the proposed project. Regarding the Planning Commission recommendation to provide a $25,000 annual endowment, the applicant does not agree with that recommendation. The applicant has voluntarily proposed to contribute one-time funds of $887,000 to benefit the community. This funding is not related to any specific project impact. Therefore, PDS does not recommend requiring an annual endowment, as there is no legal nexus to any project impacts identified that the annual endowment would mitigate. Therefore, staff recommends the board adopt the environmental findings, approve the proposed project with a modification requiring the razor wire from the site fencing to be removed, approve the fire and emergency services agreement, and require the applicant to enter into an agreement to defend and indemnify the county in the amount of $500,000 and authorize the director of PDS to execute the agreement. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're available for questions.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Jesse?
Staff would like to make one change to one of the attachments, Supervisor. It would be attachment B, condition 5. We've noted a change to the greenhouse gas mitigation requirements. It should be noted that it's 556 metric tons for a 30-year life, which would be a total of 16,680 metric tons. So would also note that correction. Thank you.
Noted. We'll go first to Supervisor Anderson. It's his district, but he's asked that we hear from all the public speakers. So we're going to begin. We have a group presentation from the applicants.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 6 total requests to speak, 4 individuals in person, 2 requesting to speak by phone, and 1 group presentation. I'd also like to note for the record, we did receive 13 e-comments on this item. All 13 were in opposition. We will now begin with the group presentation. You will have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members of the group must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time with the timer on the podium. As a reminder, each person in the group may speak for no more than 4 minutes. As you come forward, please state your name at the podium before you begin your presentation. And I would like to invite forward the first group presentation that includes the following individuals: Jim Whalen, Rosalie Redrick, and Jean Paul.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Chair Fletcher and board members. My name is Rosalie Redrick. I'm the project manager at J. Whalen Associates. We have shepherded the Rugged Solar Project through the process with the county and the community. I will be the first speaker, followed by Jean-Paul Lamarche, who represents the applicant. My boss, Jim Whalen, will complete the presentation and be available for questions. We would very much appreciate your support. To begin, a few key points. First, the Rugged Solar Project was approved some years back with different solar equipment. Our request today is to approve the modification of major use permit to change the equipment, and that's it. Next slide, please. Second, the project is located in a sparsely populated area of Boulevard, north of Interstate 8, with many fewer residents compared to south of Interstate 8. Next slide, please. Third, the replacement project has in general about 20% less impact. Jim will go into that in more detail. Next slide, please. Thank you, and I'll hand this off to Jean-Paul.
Hello, I'm Jean-Paul Lamarche. I'm with Green Skies Clean Energy. We are the developer behind the project, and we're formerly Green Skies Renewables. We have been developing solar projects for about 13 years. We provide fully integrated end-to-end services, starting with land acquisition, design, construction, financing, as well as the operation of the solar projects. Of note, we also have a major business line deploying rooftop solar, which I understand is important to the County of San Diego in carrying out its climate action plan. Solar Power World ranks Green Skies as the #1 of total energy produced by all installations. We are proud of our close working relationship with the Boulevard community, especially in our efforts to bring tangible community benefits to this deserving area. And Jim will take over from here.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher, members of the Board of Supervisors. Jim Whalen, J. Whalen Associates. Staff did such a killer job, I don't really need to go through my whole spiel, but I'll just make some high points. The project's already approved, and we're reducing impacts. And it generally came from reducing the water use and area because we changed the technology. It went from the concentrating photovoltaic on those long masts to the lower to the ground single-axis tracker. Next slide, please. The next two slides are, you have all this in front of you. It's the before and the after. The high points are, of course, the energy produced is about the same. The height of the tracker panels is a third or less than what it used to be. The installation method is way different. We don't need to use as much concrete, so you don't have to use the groundwater to make the concrete. It's driven into the ground with the stakes. The lighting is very low key. The area is dark skies out there. And obviously, you can see the development footprint's reduced. Next slide, please. The grading went slightly up because of the way you construct single-axis trackers, but it's over 400 acres, so you wouldn't really notice the difference. Substation size is a bit different. It's bigger, but it's within the footprint of the project. The overhead collection system's about the same, although in this case, we reduced the height of the poles. And you heard why we can't underground. It's because of the cultural impacts that would be engendered. The water use is a lot less, both for construction and operational. And because of the way the new panels are being done, and this is food for thought, they don't have to wash them as often. They're now putting these sort of anti-static coatings on them so that they don't have any problem with the dust that they have out there. Next slide, please. Project benefits are fairly straightforward. We reached out to the Boulevard community and said what would be a good thing to do. Most important was the renovation of the community center, which we're proud to be part of. The fire numbers are what they are. For the economy, it's a union project. We're going to have about 500 direct jobs and about 1,370 indirect induced. The only thing important mentioning on that is I'm working hard to have actual local hires, where people from the Boulevard community get a shot at the jobs instead of having them go to somebody from Reseda, which is what happens usually. And then the last point on that is the county needs this power. It's in-basin generated, 74 megawatts. It's one step in getting you to your completion of the Climate Action Plan implementation. Next slide, please. Planning Commission response, again, staff did a great job. We talked about the undergrounding. Sorry about the concertina wire. That was an oversight. It'll be regular barbed wire. On the power purchase agreement, that's worth mentioning. Green Skies is in exclusivity negotiating with San Diego Community Power, meaning that they are in the stages of negotiation prior to the execution of a power purchase agreement, but we couldn't get it done in time for today. And then the last one, of course, is we'll reduce the pole height. Last slide is just kind of a note. We have to get a Corps permit and a water board permit. We expect to be done about this time next year and be under construction, ready to go and provide the grid to the power to the county. Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate staff especially, once again, did yeoman service, and I deeply appreciate it personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Let's hear from our other public speakers.
Thank you. And for any members of the public that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Christina Marquez, Mark, Donna Tisdale, and Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please begin by stating your name for the record.
Go ahead. Any order. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mark Ostrander. I'm a retired Cal Fire Battalion Chief, and I'm speaking on behalf of the community benefit portion of the project. I have some handouts for the board that they could look at as some of the stuff we have done. This is going to help us immensely. We are an underserved community. We have a lot of issues out there with intergenerational problems from the youth all the way up to senior citizens. I work directly with a lot of them throughout the backcountry, trying to alleviate some of these issues. It ranges from financial, mental health, et cetera, et cetera. The youth out there do not have any programs where they can get some advantages to the new things going on. Every time previous projects have come through, we've never received any community benefits, but we receive all the bad part of what the project outcomes have done. We are asking that the county would help support us on those issues and look at it, because it's a struggle out there. We have to work 100% donation based. We watched other communities get resources from the county and receive things. We had to purchase everything. We have to get our own funding. We've been doing this on a very shoestring budget and trying to get all these programs. You'll see in the handout that I gave you some of the projects and some of the things we have done in the past and where our goals and what we're trying to do. And I thank you all for this time for us to speak. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors. I'm Donna Tisdale. I've lived in Boulevard since 1977. I've been a volunteer community planner, activist, and advocate since the late 1980s. And during all that time, working to defend our rural community and others from obnoxious, harmful industrial scale projects, including a 600-acre landfill, a hazardous waste incinerator, international airport site, dozens of massive wind and solar projects, 60-acre substations, 500 kV lines, and more. And during that process, I have won 8 awards from numerous organizations, including this one, the Board of Supervisors, San Diego Sierra Club, Citizens Clearinghouse for Hazardous Waste. And every year since 1991, the various members of our Boulevard Planning Group have elected me as their president, because I know they know I work hard for our community. San Diego advertises itself, the county, priorities to include sustainable, equitable, livable communities, Live Well San Diego, equity and shared prosperity, environmental social justice for all, for more. And we're requesting you find a way for some of those priorities to be visibly demonstrated to our chronically and historically underserved community, because we are constantly targeted, along with Cacumba, to be the unwilling host of most of San Diego's industrial scale energy projects without any actual benefit to our communities. And after years of dealing with Rugged Solar and Jim Whalen, our Boulevard Planning Group is now asking you to support the following reasonable requests. Sounds like they're already removing the concertina wire. Thank you. We still request the on-site lines go underground. Most projects are required to do that because of the fire risk. They're already going to grade 75,000 cubic yards. What's a few more for undergrounding? Require increased setbacks from adjacent participating private properties consistent with San Diego County defensible space. I'm the chair of the Boulevard Planning Group. May I have a couple more minutes? Thank you. Find a way to provide a minimum donation from the county, matching Rugged Solar's promised community benefit agreement that is dedicated to rehab the Backcountry Resource Center that Mark spoke about. In Boulevard, it provides intergenerational services. We need a new pocket park. Boulevard has no park. Find a way to provide some form of annual funding for the Backcountry Resource Center to cover annual expenses, utilities, insurance, and maintenance. It's run by volunteers now. We need a paid employee. The life of the project is 25 to 40 years. We'll be dealing with it for that time. As Mark said, other communities receive such benefits without being sacrificed. We're not asking for much, just fair and equitable treatment. And I thank you for consideration. I hope you can find a way to honor these requests. Our community deserves your attention and respect. Thank you.
Good morning. Christina Marquez speaking on behalf of 3,600 power professionals and electricians of IBEW Local 569 of San Diego and Imperial counties. We are in strong support of the Rugged Solar project and urge you to approve the major use permit modification and time extension. The Boulevard Rugged Solar project is important to help in meeting local and state requirements to lower GHGs, because we are in a climate crisis and need more of these projects to be approved to achieve these goals. Because there is a project labor agreement on this project, it will help to employ San Diego and Imperial County residents as opposed to out-of-state residents. IBEW 569 is putting local people to work on projects and investing in the community by providing skilled training so residents have an opportunity to better themselves while earning a living and providing for their families. Working on these green energy projects, the workers are provided great health care benefits and a pension to retire with dignity, giving residents a real shot at a middle-class opportunity. And I'd like to note that staff did a really good presentation, like James Whalen said. IBEW 569 urges you to please vote yes for rugged solar. Thank you.
Username Audra, I like how you gave her extra time. That was very nice. It's not inclusive, but that's okay. Again, so Anderson, I'm not surprised this is your project because we already had Hukumba. So all these people come in and tell you they don't want it there, but you're like, throw millions of dollars at them and just tell them to shut up, right? But I mean, I just don't understand how people are not going to benefit from this. You just want to pay them $887,000 just to deal with it when they could, if you wanted, benefit from it. And this is something where it's like, no matter if you reduce the size of these solar panels, there's still 264 of them. And I feel like when you're using the unincorporated areas like this, is this to de-incentivize people from living there as well? Like you're gonna fill all of the unincorporated areas with solar panel fields so that you bring people into these densely populated areas where they can't go anywhere. It sounds crazy, yeah, but like the World Economic Forum pushes this kind of stuff. And we got Nathan right here. And Tara is a Soros puppet. So it's like, the things that you guys are doing are de-incentivizing people from wanting to live out there. And this is going to SDG&E. So who does that benefit? You guys in your plan, but not the people that live there. And you guys had, in 2017, is that the only time that you asked for public comment, and you only did it within 300 feet of the project site? One person in favor spoke, one in opposition, 16 e-comments in opposition, and one in favor. So if you're actually listening to the people, which that wasn't very many, I think you should still talk to more, then you shouldn't push this forward because they don't want it. They're in opposition. And this totally has many obstacles that are unavoidable.
Thank you. Thank you. We will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will begin with our first caller.
Consuelo. Again, ditto to everything that Audra just mentioned. I'd like to know, like, what, I mean, the climate crisis, what is the carbon footprint of solar panels? I'm just curious to know if you all understand what solar panels do to our planet and our Earth. What else do I have?
Would you like to make any more comments?
Yeah. I hope you all are paying attention and seeing what this government is doing to us. Control, control, control. Money, money, money. That's all it's about. That's my comment.
Thank you. We'll go to the next caller.
non-stakeholder truth here. Donna Tisdale, your March 17, 2021 presentation on dangerous wind turbines was great. For the rugged solar project, I think it's good that the applicant is proposing to utilize technology which results in a reduction of the panel height and the overall footprint of the panel. The item says that the project would provide enough energy for about 56,000 homes. But for what kind of homes? Homes running on clean natural gas, or homes running everything, including charging cars, on dirty, expensive electricity? I see the Planning Commission has decided to sell out their community for unsustainable, flammable, toxic lithium infrastructure in the form of solar panels for only a measly $25,000 a year. The developer wants the community to accept a one-time bribe of $887,000. No heroes here. According to the August 18th San Diego Fire Rescue meeting, quote, with lithium batteries, after fire is extinguished, rekindle is likely and can occur up to 21 days later, end quote. From a July 14th LA Times article, quote, many solar panels are in landfills where they could potentially contaminate groundwater with toxic heavy metals such as lead, selenium, and cadmium. In most states, panels are classified as hazardous materials. The vast majority of residential solar arrays are crystalline silicon panels, which can contain lead, end quote. The threat to our climate from toxic lithium is real. The fire threat caused by lithium batteries is real. The toxic lithium crisis needs to be addressed. There is no planet B.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. We're going to go first to Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. I just want to say to the applicants, I'm grateful for the work your team has done. I know you've had several meetings. You've worked with the community. You're a great example of what can be accomplished when you're focused on helping those in neighboring communities. I know that the $887,000 is very generous and it's very helpful to the community. But we saw in some of the comment that the Backcountry Resource Center is really important to the community. And one of the concerns I have is that with inflation, I'm worried that that rehab isn't going to get completed. Would you be willing to make a voluntary contribution of an extra $25,000 in a one-time funding to ensure all of the rehab can be done on budget? Is that something that you could do?
Pleased to do so.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that. And then I also wanted to point out to our team did a great job. I mean, this is a stellar project. The Mountain Empire region has taken, as you all know, the brunt of all the large renewable energy projects. We heard that from speakers, but we've also seen it. As a board, we have to somewhat acknowledge the disproportionate effect of the utility scale energy development has on these communities like Boulevard. And when we go to address it, I think that one of the things that we need to be thinking in terms of moving forward is the Mount Empire Unified School District is 70% minority enrolled. And of the 70%, almost 43% of the students are economically disadvantaged because they feed all these communities. And just for the record, the vast majority of sexually violent predators are located in this school district. So I'd like to, with that in mind, I'd like to ask staff to report back to the board within 180 days with some options for the Mountain Empire area. And when I say Mountain Empire area, I really am thinking in terms of the Mountain Empire School District. One, the option to pursue funding sources to operate the resource and community centers into intergenerational programming activities. Two, explore locations where the county can provide funding, matching funding, or pursue grant scholarships for educational and workforce training opportunities. Many of these communities don't have this ability, and I think it's important when you think about generational wealth that our children receive the best education. And number three, coordinate with the Mountain Empire School District to pursue opportunities to close funding and programming gaps. I can hand this over to make it easy. But I'd like to make that in a motion. Oh, you already have it. Man, you're good. This is awesome. So with that, with the acceptance of the $25,000 and everything that's been presented, I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm happy to second that motion to approve the recommendations in the item and include these 3 report back items within 180 days. I want to thank the county team. I've been working on this for a bit, and it's good to see it moving. I want to thank the applicants for your work with the community, your work with IBEW and with labor, and your work with county staff. And I want to thank the residents there. We know you need some help, and you need to be treated fairly by this, and so we're committed to doing that, both with what is already in here, the addition Supervisor Anderson laid out, along with the other things that we'll continue to work on to work and help this community. The reality is we know we need more renewable power. We're never going to hit our goals in our climate action plan. We're not going to get anywhere close to regional decarbonization if we don't increase the availability of renewable energy. We also know we need good middle-class jobs, good working-class jobs, and so I'm pleased to see this brought forward utilizing our local union electricians, which is a good thing, and the support of the community. I think makes this a project that is very worthy of support, and pleased to second Supervisor Anderson's motion. With that, we have a motion by Supervisor Anderson, seconded by myself. Let me ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas. Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present, voting aye.
We're now going to resume both non-agendized public communication and any closed session speakers that we have.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We do have 8 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. All 8 are coming via phone. So I'd ask those that requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we will give you a moment to call in. And we will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, when it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We will begin with our first caller. Again, if you could please state your name for the audio record before beginning your comments.
Truth. Since I missed it, yesterday's item 8 implemented AB 177, which increases court transcript fees and eliminates the fees for lab work, drug tests, incarceration, arrests, prosecutions, and even for convictions. The diversion restitution fee can be waived for a convict. No restitution for a victim. The equity statement referred to the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, which is aligned with the United Nations, and the center even tells people how to vote via Oakland Rising. The Ella Baker Center's executive director is socialist Van Jones, and their board director is Diana Frappier, whose alleged father, John Frappier, was a member of the terrorist group Weather Underground. The sustainability statement said, quote, removing these fees from the administrative code helps the county transition to a circular economy, end quote. The World Economic Forum's circular economy, where everyone gets to rent everything and never own anything. Isn't that right, Nathan? The contribution for trials courts, the auditor and controller, and the sheriff's departments are all financially affected now, so the state legislature allocated $25 million for this year and $50 million every year after. Another killer increase in debt and inflation. And crime is now, in another way, incentivized to increase. So, next topic. Nathan, I wanted to tell you that I actually agreed with you yesterday that Audra's crazy. No doubt about it. In fact, I told her that when I met her. But she's a good crazy, and you're a bad crazy. There is a difference. Audra's crazy is self-sacrificing. Nathan's crazy is self-serving. But hey, yesterday's meeting was fun.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, not seeing any other callers in the queue, that will conclude non-agenda public communication this morning, and we will move on to the closed session. We have 4 total requests to speak. We have 1 individual in person and 3 requesting to speak by phone. For any members of the public that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speaker. I'd like to invite forward Audra. You will have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Username Audra. So I just, having all these people come in and worry about their wages and whatnot, I just would hope that you guys can take into consideration how much money you guys make.
I'm sorry, your comments need to be on topic to agenda items for closed session.
It is, it's labor.
That's not how much money we make.
It doesn't matter. You don't even know what I'm talking about. You can't determine what I say. Like, this is what you keep doing. It's a problem.
You need to speak to the agenda item.
I am speaking to it.
Try again.
Are you going to interrupt me?
If you're off topic.
I'm not off topic, because how much you make, you should think about that when you're deciding what other people make or giving them help. Because these people are living below poverty according to your numbers. And so I'm saying, take into consideration how much money you make sitting up there when you're determining things for other people. And don't put them in a place of poverty, because you're not going to give them that much more. You guys are above and beyond. I mean, Nathan, you have 2 homes. So yeah, I'm just saying, take into consideration when you think about other people's lives when they're in your hand. Yeah, look at the time. I got 50 seconds left. You wasted 30 of it. Just because you don't like what people have to say doesn't mean that they can't come up here. It's a First Amendment right for me to speak. And you silenced somebody yesterday when she was talking just to tell us not to clap. You're interrupting people, blaming it on us. And you should think about how much you make all the time, because you're up there because we allow it. And it's not going to be for long. You're not going to be governor. Just know that. It's ridiculous the way you treat people. And all I'm asking is for you to take into consideration what you make when you're deciding what other people make. And don't make them have to go to McDonald's to get a higher wage.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, not seeing any of the callers calling into the queue, that would conclude public comment on this item.
All right, it is 10:30. We will begin closed session at 10:45. We'll take a 15-minute break. We will reconvene in closed session at 10:45, and then we will be back here at 2 p.m. for our child care conference. With that, we stand adjourned.
Touches every San Diegan's life in some way, and every